Oh my goodness, it is my privilege and my honor. I'm so delighted always to speak with you, Alexandra, who I'll call Alex, Franzen, who is someone who truthfully, I've admired your work, and I think I've told you this, for years and years and years and years. You're one of my internet heroines. And I would say at the core of why I'm always so delighted and I read every word of your newsletters and follow all of your material, buy all your books, is because you have such a beautiful connection to what makes the human spirit sing, to the best part of our humanity and teasing it out of us in such a simple and easy way, little digestible morsels of sunshine that literally light me up when I read them. Like you literally show up like the female Mrs. Rogers. But truly, I mean, I just adore you and I adore your work, and I'm so honored that you and I are now getting to work together because it's kind of like a dream come true.
Alexa, calling me a female Mr. Rogers is like the highest compliment that anyone could bestow upon me. So thank you.
Oh, you deserve it. No, really, I just love it. And I want to share a little bit of background of kind of where we are together in our collaboration, because it sets up the perfect discussion about really tapping into your life's work and staying motivated, creating tiny goals around it, because literally that's exactly what you and I have done together. And we're creating some magic and making wishes come true. So our latest project, our latest collaboration is actually a book called Wishwork, my book. And I had attended your amazing retreat in Hawaii, which was so awesome. And it was yoga and writing. And because I knew that I had always wanted to write a book, I was like, I am all in. I had not treated myself to such a lovely sort of work vacation before. And because I had followed you for years silently on the sidelines, when you sent that email out, I was like, oh, I'm going. I'm just like, I was like, go, yes. And then what emerged was just an amazing week of connecting with amazing women and starting the chapters, the outline of my book and a few sample chapters. And what followed afterward was when I got home, I realized, like many of us who set out with big, ambitious goals, is that I got sucked right back into the millions of other things that I'm doing in my business and life.
Yeah.
And the prospect of actually writing this big book got overwhelming, and I didn't do it. I didn't move forward the way I thought I would on my own.
Yeah.
So you put out a little notice to your massive following about like, hey guys, I'm going to do a coaching package where you can have me by your side. We'll create a plan for tiny goals and the few other wonderful bells and whistles to really say like, let me help you do what I do for you. We can do it together and you'll accomplish this in 6 months. And I was like, hello, yes, that's exactly what I need. And within 6 months, the tiny goals that we laid out together, voila, book was made. And even miraculously, a publishing deal came out of it as a result as well. So the miracles never cease.
Yeah, tiny goals, they really work.
They really work, man.
They really do. Yeah. And whether it's writing a book or a completely different kind of project, renovating your home, launching a business, finding a new job, revitalizing your sex life, like whatever the goal or mission may be, it's all about setting those tiny daily or weekly goals and just moving forward one little bunny hop at a time. It's so simple, and we all know this, but we forget and we overcomplicate things. And so for me personally, like I have found that the more I can set like really, really, really almost like ludicrously tiny goals for myself, the more productive I am, because I don't feel overwhelmed when I look at my to-do list. I only see 3 little tiny goals and I go, oh, no problem.
I can do that.
I can do that. And then I do them. And then what I find, and I bet you find this too, is that, once I've done that first tiny goal of the day, it's like it's almost like a match is lit, right? There's kind of a fire in your belly, and suddenly there's momentum and there's energy, and you're like, oh, I can do the next tiny goal and the next one and the next one. And you're just kind of in motion. And before you know it, you've done, 5, 10 tiny goals, and you are well on your way towards whatever it is that you want. But if you start with like a massive, horrible, like if you start by staring at like a daunting to-do list.
No, it's horrifying.
Then it's like, for me personally, like I'll just stare at my computer screen and be like, and get nothing done.
No, totally. Like I remember I wrote out, and I'm always sort of rejiggering how I'm positioning my courses and my strategy and what I'm going to do next. And I remember, I haven't even looked at it since I wrote this thing, but like one weekend I was like, I am going to figure this out. And I wrote this comprehensive, I should pull it up, but like comprehensive strategy and how I was going to position it. And this is the content that I'm going to build around it and when I'm going to launch it. And I shared it with someone, someone who I would regard as a mentor. And you know what she said to me? She said, looking at this makes me really tired. And from that comment, I literally looked at it and I was like, yeah, this like is exhausting. Like it's just, and ironically, even though I'm sure there is absolutely a blueprint for how to organize myself, because it was so dense and so like, you're going to do this and you're going to do this. And I haven't done any of those things.
Yeah.
I haven't. It's too gross and overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I think if you are someone who has ambitions towards building things, which you and I do, like you have clients and you have, your personal life, and you have books that you're writing, books that you've already written that you're marketing, things that you're developing, courses, that it's so easy to kind of go, but how did you come up, like, what was your aha moment with how you cracked the code on truly understanding the power of tiny goals? Was there something specific that happened with you?
Yeah, there've definitely been a series of things. One of my favorite little tiny goal stories to tell is the story of how I wrote my very, very, very first ebook, which was about 8 or 9 years ago at this point. I've always been a writer, and I wrote blog posts and I wrote articles and I did writing for clients and this, that, and whatever. But 8 or 9 years ago, I had never written a book. And something about the idea of writing a book with like a capital B felt very intimidating to me, even though I was a professional writer and still am. But it felt kind of daunting, and I didn't know how do I structure it. And I just felt kind of overwhelmed by the whole idea. And yet I really wanted to do it. So I remember one day, I was living in Minneapolis at the time, and there was this amazing coffee shop that I was obsessed with. It's the Oscar Wilde Cafe. And it's a coffee shop, but the whole theme is Oscar Wilde. So they have like a fireplace, and like you can get like a brandy, and they have like fancy pillars everywhere. And it's just like so awesome. And there's a big painting of Oscar, who's a hero of mine. So one day I took my laptop and I went to the Oscar Wilde Cafe, and I remember I walked inside. It was kind of like a chilly, wintry day. And I was so excited because there was this big, comfy armchair right by the fire. And I was like, beeline for that chair. I sat down with my computer. And then it's like, it just occurred to me out of nowhere, what if instead of writing a full-length 50,000 word book, what if I just write a tiny book? Mm-hmm. Like literally like a 10-page book, like a mini book, a little teeny ebook about like just one specific topic, basically like a really long blog post.
Yeah. Like what you do, but a little bit more.
Yeah, and I kind of thought about it, and immediately I just felt so energized, and I felt excited, and I felt like this I can do. Mm-hmm. And I sat down and I kind of rumbled around in my brain, and I was like, okay, well, what should the topic be? And at the time, and I still do, but at the time I was doing a lot of copywriting for clients who were running various kinds of companies. And my clients always had the question of, what are some emails that I can use to line up more clients? Like, can you write me some kind of email template that I can use to reach out to a potential client, to reach out to a former client, to reach out to a dream client, what are some like client getting emails?
Yeah.
And so I sat down and I wrote this tiny little ebook that was called 5 Scripts to Fill Your Client Docket. And that's all it was. It was like a little 1-page introduction, 5 different email templates with some like little instructions about how to personalize them and use them. And then like a 1-page with sort of like a thanks for reading and my bio. And then I designed a little cover with my very limited graphic design skills, which was basically like a square with the text. And I had the Word document and I clicked File, Save As, PDF, boom, my ebook was done. And it literally took me like about 1 afternoon to put it together because I was just kind of pulling from information that I already use all the time. It was like, and so I think it ended up being about 15 pages long in total, teeny little book. And I have to tell you, when I finished it and I saved that PDF to my desktop, I felt so proud of myself and I felt really excited to share this, and I knew it would be helpful to my clients. And so I ended up selling it on my website, and then that was a joyful tiny goal in and of itself because I'd never really sold a product before. And to my vast amazement, people were buying it. And like, one by one, I would see those PayPal transactions come into my inbox, $5, $10, $50. And like, I remember looking at my phone like, what? Like, it felt
I made something that somebody wants.
Yeah, and like, we're not talking about millions of dollars in revenue here, but it was even those little tiny, entries of $5, $5, $5. It felt like a big deal, and it was exciting. And it was even more exciting to start receiving little emails from people saying, I tried this, it helped, oh my gosh, thank you. So all of this is to say, since then, that was 8 or 9 years ago, I have written several full-length books, and I have gotten book deals, and I wrote a novel that's coming out later this year, and I've graduated, I guess you could say, up to even larger creative projects, but it all started with a tiny book and a tiny goal. And I really do believe that that day, sitting in that Oscar Wilde coffee shop, writing that little itty-bitty tiny self-published PDF ebook, that was kind of like the key in the door that unlocked things. Once I accomplished that little tiny goal, I felt like, okay, I can write a book. Like I get it. I see.
Oh yeah. And I think it's funny because as this relates to Wishbeads and the wish work that we talk about in the book, it's funny because somebody will say to me, does this stuff work? And it's like, well, it works because you have a different experience about the world because you're doing one tiny activity. So you thinking about the messages that you're hearing on a song that's randomly playing on the radio, is that going to change your life? It might, because if you feel in that moment that by hearing this song is going to take you from this one mood to another mood, then it works for you. It's a powerful tool, which means you can draw on that little bit of action to use it to get you in a different place, because that shift in your energy that you felt by publishing it before even anyone bought it, that confidence that you got, that blast of confidence, is exactly the fuel that's going to make you hit bigger and bigger and bigger accomplishments, bigger goals. And so like that sort of that the tiny goals is so akin to wish work in that, just these little 21 days of activities that you can focus on that seems so simple, but what it does, it helps you connect into your own belief of yourself. The unwavering confidence that you have that you can accomplish whatever you set your mind out to. But when we make the goal so big and so scary and so weighted, it feels too much to anybody, even for people that are wildly productive and seemingly successful. It's too much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have gotten so obsessed with tiny goals that what I do nowadays is every night before I go to bed, I will usually print out a little checklist for the following day of the little things that I want to do the following day. And I will usually start that checklist with, I kid you not, like it'll say, drink a glass of water, have coffee and sit outside for 5 minutes. Like just really basic stuff that like I probably would do anyway, but for some reason, checking it off the list, it makes me feel like, all right, here we go. Check, check, check. My day's in motion. I am a person who accomplishes things. And it kind of just sets me off on a great note for the day. And it is amazing how, yeah, whether it's a tiny, you know, self-care habit or a tiny writing habit or a tiny step that you take to get one more client in the door for your business, like all of these tiny steps, they add up, they accumulate, and it's almost like that snowball rolling down the mountain where it's going faster and faster and the momentum is building. And before you know it, all of those tiny steps lead to big victories.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I think, you know, right now I'm just working on this course that I was telling you about that's about finding your purpose and setting goals and also staying motivated along the way. But really, when I was talking about the purpose section, you know, when I think about your purpose, originally, now I think very differently now that I've really been kind of unpacking it in this course, is that it comes down to not just something you're supposed to be doing with your life, like your job description. But I believe that we came here on this planet in this time to be happy and to be in service, to leave this world a little brighter than when we arrived. That's your purpose. And each of us have this gift that we have. You know, your ability to write, and you're also the lens by which you see humanity, and you're able to articulate that and encourage that in other people. It's very similar to what I love to do as well, and I do it through my own lens. And I think that many times, because of the messages that we receive or the way that we think we should be doing things, we get away from our gifts. So it's discovering those gifts and putting us in alignment with our happiness and our fulfillment. So Tiny Goals has this weird piece of that, which is when you accomplish these little things, the feeling that you get is really when you're living your purpose. You know, it's like when you're there, when you're happy, when you're content, when you're at peace, when you're in service to other people, like when you've, as I said, made the world a little bit brighter place. It's super awesome. It accumulates, it snowballs.
Yeah.
And
could I share a thought on your purpose? Like,
please.
So I had this thought a few years ago, and I'll just share it in case it's interesting to you and to the folks watching. I was chatting with a friend of mine, and she's kind of like a midlife to older woman. I think she's in her late 60s at this point, and she's had an incredible life and an incredible career, and she's done so many things. And yet she was at a point in her life, I think she had a birthday approaching, and she was sort of like, what is my purpose now? You know, where am I at now? What do I want to do now? And we were talking about it, and we were kind of talking about the idea of like a life purpose in a very esoteric, existential kind of way. And then it sort of occurred to me, like, what if we're almost overcomplicating what it even means to have a purpose? And what if your purpose is not this like lofty concept that you can't really grab, but what if your purpose is really just a project that you pledge to complete? And what I mean by that is, she ultimately decided, you know what, right now, my purpose is I want to somehow mentor or touch the lives of 100 young women and help them to, launch their careers and make more money and reach for more. I want to reach 100 women. And that she felt like, okay, for now, for the next few years, that's my purpose. And there was something about taking the idea of a purpose and making it a project with like a specific shape, where it's not just like, I'm here to serve, and then feeling like, what do I mean? But actually saying 100 women over the next several years.
Yeah.
That is my purpose.
Yeah.
And so I like that idea a lot of taking, you know, the spirit of what it is that you want to contribute to the world, but actually describing it as if it's a project. Like you're going to raise $100,000 for a nonprofit that you love. That's your purpose or your primary purpose. You're going to touch the lives of 50 young people who are applying for college and set them on their path. You're going to, you know, complete a 50,000 word book, you know, whatever it is, but giving it like a specific project container.
Yeah, so you know what to do.
Yeah, and
I
think
agree.
it helps you wake up in the morning and feel more purposeful, you know, and feel more clear, because you're not like, what am I doing today? You're like, oh, right, I'm going to touch the lives of 100 women over the next 5 years. So that's kind of how I've begun to think about the idea of a life purpose. And it's a beautiful project that you are pledging to complete. And once it is complete, you can choose a new purpose. And
it evolves. I love that. I mean, I think that's an amazing insight, and I so thank you for sharing. And it's funny, I mean, I don't know if you've ever read Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, but I think that why, it's understanding your why, but also attributing it to like this idea of the completion of the project. And I know with Wishbeads, like my big goal or project goal with Wishbeads is 1 million wishes. 1 million people wishing, ideally at the same time. This is a big goal.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I want to do 1 million wishes at the same time, doing it virtually. And I'll tell you a funny story about that, although I don't know if we've got time, but 1 million wishes happening, like we can do it virtually. So it's happening live somewhere. And I had experienced Deepak Chopra and Gabby Bernstein did like this live meditation for peace years ago. And I participated, you know, in my office, just meditating for peace, along with 250,000 other people, I think, did it at the same time. So I had this idea that, okay, I've watched this as a possibility. Now it's time to, you know, to see if I could, I'll pull this off. We'll make Wishbeads big enough and share with enough people. And that's partly why we're publishing the book, is to get Wishbead concept in the hands of people that maybe aren't going to buy a bracelet or find my blog or whatever. Anyway, I went to a meeting in the Valley, and I was talking to a woman, and she had a woman sitting next to her. And I didn't know who she was, but as I'm talking to this store owner, sort of meditation studio owner, I was telling her about my wish, you know, this vision of 1 million people, and just the story that I told you about, this experience that I had participated in. And the woman sitting next to her goes, wow, what an unbelievable coincidence, because I produced that event.
What?
Yeah, she produced that event. And I was like, what? And so suddenly you realize that when you put your intention out there, what you're doing, I mean, this is the magic of Wishwork. It's the magic of what you're talking about. When you get very clear about what your purpose is with whatever chapter in your life you're in, and then you start to take action towards it, and you start to give it voice, and you start to have it be the lens by which you make all the other decisions in your life. Is it serving the goal of this bigger thing? Then suddenly a path emerges. The directions suddenly start to emerge. And if people don't know what that project could be, then you default to begin by what are your gifts that you're giving in the world? What are the things that you're doing that give you meaning and make you feel happy and participating in? And then you can find your way to finding that project. But it's amazing.
And I think it's another thing that I love about the idea of a project, like kind of thinking about your purpose as a project, is that it feels empowering, because it's like you're not searching for your purpose. You choose your purpose. You go, I'm choosing this project. This is what I'm pledging to do. And it feels a lot more like grounded and strong, I think, rather than this like quest seeking, where is it? Where is it? It's like, I get to choose it. I'm choosing it. Yeah. I decide that my purpose is to hike the Pacific Crest Trail and then write Instagram posts to share my experiences to inspire others. I choose that project and I will complete it. Or I choose, you know, my project is I want to inspire 1 million wishes. That's my purpose. And all of the things that I'm doing every day, all the checklists, all the to-do list is moving towards the completion of that project. And you may complete that project in your lifetime. You may not. This may be a project that someone else then picks up after you die, and it goes on and on and on. I mean, some purpose projects are not completed in the span of just one lifetime. If we look at like civil rights movement, things like that, it's many lifetimes. But yeah, I love the idea of it's a project that you choose, and you pledge to complete this project to the best of your abilities within the span of your lifetime. And
I totally love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I thank you, because I think it's a real game changer and a gem. And specifically as I'm talking about it right now in my other course, but I also want to talk about your latest book that's coming out in the time that we have left, because I think that there's so much of this in the energy. Just your title alone sets the tone. So tell us a little bit about your book. It's coming out, and
so excited.
Everybody is both excited and afraid to ask themselves.
Yeah, so my next book, which comes out, we're recording this in early October. The book comes out October 15th, so very, very soon. It's a novel. It's called So This Is the End, A Love Story. So this is the end. And the premise, or the central question of the book is, if you had just 24 hours to live, what would you do with your time? And the story is, it's fiction, so it's not a true story. And it's a 24-hour, 24-chapter story that follows a woman named Nora who's dead, but thanks to a miraculous revolutionary medical procedure, they were able to bring her back to life, but only for 24 hours. It's sort of like we recharge the battery, you're back, here you are. There's a catch. You get 24 extra hours, lucky you. So you can do whatever you want to do. You can say goodbye to your loved ones. You can make amends. You can seek forgiveness. You can go to the beach one last time. You can watch the sunset one last time. You get one more day. So use it wisely. So the story follows her as she's navigating this final day of her life. And she ends up, without giving too much away.
I know, because everyone should get this book and read it themselves.
Yeah, well, she ends up meeting an amazing man, and she basically meets the love of her life on the very last day of her life. What happens next? You'll have to read the book.
You're gonna have to read the book.
Yeah.
I've already pre-ordered my copy, so I'm waiting.
Yay! Yeah, it comes out. It's going to be in hardcover and Kindle. So This Is the End. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, Books A Million, your local bookstore. Look in your closet. It might be there right now. Look everywhere. It's everywhere.
Everywhere. Go get your copy.
Yeah, but I loved creating this book. I think it was probably one of my favorite creative projects I've ever worked on.
Wow.
And also the most emotional, because like I literally would start crying, as this sounds so crazy, but like I'd be sitting at a coffee shop with my laptop, typing chapter 7, and I would kind of have that, oh my God, like wave of emotion of, well, what if this was my last day?
Yeah.
What would I want to do? Who would I want to be with? I'd want to be with my family. I'd want to go to the ocean. I'd want to, there's a whole list of things that I would want to do if it were my very last day. And then of course that leads into the question of, well, why aren't you living that way right now?
Right.
Why couldn't you redesign your daily routine so that it's more aligned with what really matters to you? Because when you really frame it in the sense of this could be the last day, it illuminates pretty quickly like what your real priorities are and what they are not. So I want to know from you though, like what would if you had your one bonus day, one last day, what would you want to do?
Oh, it is such a mighty one. And yet one of the plays that I've loved forever was Our Town by Thornton Wilder. And it's the same principle, you know, and Emily Webb looks back on her life when she's deceased and she comes back in this play, which is a wonderful play, and says, will they ever realize like basically how sweet life is while they're living it? Like it's wasted on the people because we all get caught up in our day. And it's such an excellent reminder because while I felt such a big presence in my own life to work on my project, you know, make the world a better place, the sweetest and dearest people in my heart and my life and my family, I think it's, you know, I would want to be with them and I would want to share my presence and my love and my attention. And I would want to eat a really good meal. I wouldn't want to cook that meal, that's for sure. I would want to eat that meal. But I think like being and seeing and being present and just so with them. And I'll tell you, in reflecting on that one concept, how often, especially because I'm running so many different businesses and whatever, where I will make the decision to be like, okay, like let's get that one last email out, or let's do this one last other thing, when I can see that it's as if I'm treating, well, you know, I'll see a lot of the kids on the weekend, you know, right? So you make these little micro decisions.
Yeah.
And I think that in this examining, I mean, we teach what we want to also implement in our own lives. Yeah. So this idea of really being clear about your goals and also knowing when to stop your goals for the day, so that the other goals of like, oh, I'm just going to take, like at a certain point, I'm going to stop working or stop feeling like after the children go to bed, after I've hung out with them for the evening, go back and work some more. Yeah. That's not what I would choose to do on my last day. Yeah. I would want to do other fun things that I really tend to keep off my plate, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's such a funny thing about being human because, you know, most likely, statistically speaking, you will have many more years to work on the project of your purpose, and you will have many more years, most likely, to have treasured moments with your family and loved ones, or you might not, you know, and it's like,
and you don't know.
That's the kind of weird thing about being human, is like, this could be the last day, this could be the last hour. No one knows. Yeah. It's out of our control. And so all we can do, I think, is, you know, spend a little time and really ask yourself, well, if it was the last day, what would I want to do? And whatever those things are, try to make them part of your regular everyday life to the best of your abilities. You know, we all have invoices to pay and taxes to pay and, you know, boxes that need to be checked, and that stuff needs to happen because most likely you will be alive another 40 years. Yeah. But at the same time, like you said, making a little space in your day for the more tender things, for the time with the kids and the beautiful meal and sitting outside in the sunshine, and those things that when we really boil things down to the essence, it's like, that's what I'd want to do.
Yeah.
Last day. Yeah.
No, it's so true. It's so true. And I think it's, you know, I am a big believer in having very clean relationships. Like, so that for some reason, there's certain aspects of my life that I'm like, absolutely. Like, I don't want to walk around this planet with anybody feeling like they've got unfinished business with me. This I'm very good at. And also, you know, but I think that there's a Buddhist philosophy of death being an advisor. And this idea that death is looming just beyond your left shoulder and can basically tap you out at any time. In a way, this doesn't scare me. I think it's a huge teacher. But I think that turning it on the lens of what would you do with your last 24 hours, you know, again, going back to the consciousness of making that choice of your purpose project, you know, is so awesome. And because it puts you back in the driver's seat. And we get to choose our thoughts in many ways when we bring our mindfulness to it. And when we're mindful of it, we can choose the way we feel about certain things and the inner dialogue we have in our heads. And when we want to change the world, in my opinion, it has to start right here.
Yeah.
Like that's actually where it starts. It can never start with other people making it right for you. You have to be that person. You have to show the world how you can behave, you know?
Yeah. So Alexa, it is a little after noon in your time zone. So the day is like halfway over-ish.
Yes.
What are you going to do for the rest of today? How are you going to live?
How am I going to spend my day?
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, I got a lot of my big stuff accomplished afterwards. I have one more call that's on my schedule. I am going to pick up my children from school. We are going to karate class.
Ooh.
No. Today's Wednesday. No, not karate day. No, I'm not. I'm going to pick up the kids from school. That definitely is happening. And actually this evening I go to a meditation class.
Oh, cool.
So, and I've been studying with the same teacher for about 16 years, every Wednesday night.
That's
so it's
amazing.
a big, huh?
That's amazing. That's
yeah,
so
it's a big part of what I do. And I do it with my husband. And it's funny, it's that little bit of perspective that tapping into something that's bigger than your day to day, which I think is probably a lot of where my teaching comes from. Is a lot of what I've learned from my teacher and how that practice has actually changed my life. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my day. And there's going to be good food in there somewhere. Hopefully not cooked by me. I'm going to make that happen too.
Good. Have you been, because you live in LA,
yeah.
The next time, last time I was visiting my folks in LA, we went to this place called Juicy Ladies. It's just off of the PCH. Do you know this place?
No.
Make it your life purpose to go there. Because
maybe we'll go tonight. The sun actually came out. It was supposed to rain.
If you are on the PCH, you know, I guess it's sunset. Where sunset kind of empties out into the PCH.
Sure.
And there, if you go up Sunset just a little bit, like you're going to the Self-Realization Center.
Sure.
It's right around there. I'm pretty sure it's called Juicy Ladies. It's the most amazing, like healthy, nutritious, but super yummy food. And they have like smoothies and juices and salads and sandwiches, and but it's so good. And they have the coolest little outdoor patio.
Wow.
Inside. Go there.
I'm going to go there. If this is my last day, I'm going there. That's going to be Juicy Ladies is going to be part of my my MO. No,
I really hope it's called Juicy Ladies. I'm pretty sure it's called Juicy Ladies.
I'll look it up. I know where that is.
Excellent.
Cool. Okay, and we have this wonderful interview, and you get a restaurant recommendation if you're in the Los Angeles area.
Bonus.
It stands for the Pacific Coast Highway. Very nice. On the way to Malibu. Oh, I love that. Well, I mean, honestly, you're fabulous. I am going to be including all of the resources and the books that you have in your website. You're a brilliant writer and just a gem of a human being. And I'm so honored to have you as my friend and collaborator. And I'm so happy that, my tribe of students and whatever can know about you, because they will be graced by your wisdom as I have been graced all these years.
Alexa, thank you for having me and for this lovely conversation about tiny goals and daily habits and what really matters in life. And I love you. I think you're incredible. And I love that also that our names are almost exactly the same, because my name is Alex Franzen and your name is Alexa Fischer. And many times when I'm sending an email to myself, like to remind myself to do something, your email will pop up and you'll just be like, hi. And that just makes me really happy.
Isn't it funny that the Amazon Echo thing is named Alexa, which by the way is super annoying for you and I. And because I actually go by Alexa, every time I call anybody, including my parents, I have to wait while they say, no, turn off Alexa, turn off Alexa. Because she'll be like, can I help you, or whatever she says. But our name means defender of mankind. That's what Alexandra means, which is so perfect for you and I. Like, what? That's amazing. So yes, we're going to continue, doing our purpose and enjoying life along the way and supporting one another and loving the journey and being grateful and making the world a better place.
Yes.
So yay.
Let's do it.
Yay for the Alexas, Alexandra
Yay.
Alexes, and Alexises.
Have the most beautiful day. Have fun at your meditation class.
Thank you, and enjoy your work that I know you're doing this afternoon, and go say hello to the magnificent oceans in Hawaii, and just continue to be your awesome self, because you are. Hearts, hearts, yay, amazeballs.